down at him. "The day. I should be happy for a donkey, though I had to bend my knees to keep from trailing my toes in the mud." Cazaril smiled back up at the soldier brothers, fully aware of what hollowed-out purses lay gaping and disemboweled behind most of those rich facades. They stared down their noses at him as though they could smell him from there. He was not a person they wished to impress, no lord or lady who might hand down largesse to them as they might to him. Still, he would do for them to practice their aristocratic airs upon. They mistook his returning stare for admiration, perhaps, or maybe just half-wittedness. He bit back the temptation to steer them wrong. Up into some sheep byre, or wherever that deceptively broad-looking crossroad petered out. No trick to pull on the daughter's own guardsman on the eve of the daughter's day. And besides, the men who joined the holy military orders were not especially noted for their senses of humor. And he might pass them again, being bound for the same town himself. Cazaril cleared his throat, which hadn't spoken to a man since yesterday. No, Captain. The road to Valinda has a Roya's millstone. Or it had once. Why, a mile or 3 farther on, you can't mistake it." He pulled a hand out of the warmth of the folds of his coat and waved onward. His fingers didn't really straighten right, and he found himself waving a claw. The chill air bit his swollen joints, and he tucked his hand hastily back into its burrow of cloth. The captain nodded at his banner-carrier, a thick-shouldered fellow who cradled his banner pole in the crook of his elbow and fumbled out his purse. He fished in it, looking no doubt for a coin of sufficiently small denomination. He had a couple brought up in the light, between his fingers, when his horse jinked. A coin, a gold royal, not a copper vaida, spurted out of his grip and spun down into the mud. He stared after it, aghast, but then controlled his features. He would not dismount in front of his fellows to grub in the muck and retrieve it. Not like the peasant he expected Cazaril to be. For consolation, he raised his chin and smiled, sourly, waiting for Cazaril to dive frantically and amusingly after this unexpected windfall. But instead Cazaril bowed and intoned, "May the blessings of the Lady of Spring fall upon your head, young sir, in the same spirit as your bounty to a roadside vagabond, and as little begrudged." If the young soldier brother had had more wits about him, he might well have unravelled this mockery, and Cazaril, the seeming peasant, drawn a well-earned horsewhip across his face. Little enough chance of that, judging by the brother's bull-like stare, though the captain's lips twisted in exasperation. But the captain just shook his head and gestured his column onward. If the banner-bearer was too proud to scramble in the mud, Cazaril was much too tired to. He waited till the baggage train, a gaggle of servants and mules bringing up the rear, had passed before crouching painfully down and retrieving the little spark from the cold water seeping into the horse's print. The adhesions in his back pulled cruelly. "Gods, I do move like an old man." He caught his breath and heaved to his feet, feeling a century old, feeling like road dung stuck to the boot heel of the Father of Winter as he made his way out of the world. He polished the mud off the coin, little enough even if gold, and pulled out his own purse. Now there was an empty bladder. He dropped the thin disk of metal into the leather mouth and stared down at its lonely glint. He sighed and tucked the pouch away. Now he had a hope for bandits to steal again. Now he had a reason to fear. He reflected on his new burden, so great for its weight, as he stumped up the road in the wake of the soldier brothers. Almost not worth it. Almost. Gold. Temptation to the weak, weariness to the wise. What was it to a dull-eyed bull of a soldier, embarrassed by his accidental largesse? Cazaril gazed around the barren landscape. Not much in the way of trees or coverts, except that distant watercourse over there, the bare branches and brambles lining it charcoal gray in the hazy light. The only shelter anywhere in sight was an abandoned windmill on the height to his left, its roof fallen in and its vanes broken down and rotting. Still, just in case. Cazaril swung off the road and began trudging up the hill.